So big thanks for passing by the channel as always. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So obviously we all know now Joseph Parker will be facing that guy, what's his name, Sean Winters, I think it is, or Sean Del Winters, something like that. The 39-year-old career cruiserweight is who Joseph Parker is fighting in his next fight, and this is his second fight under the Matchroom DAZN banner. And considering his second fight was originally meant to be Derek Chisora, going from that to fighting this guy for probably not as much money. I don't know obviously what the purses are going to be like. Maybe he's getting, compensated, but I don't imagine it would have been for as much money as he would have got facing Derek Chisora at the O2 on a pay-per-view as well. That was to be the co-main event of the Taylor Prograis pay-per-view. And I've seen people comment on my videos on it. I've seen them comment on Ade's videos on it, and it seems to be like a consensus of Eddie Hearn is essentially ruining Joseph Parker's career, because Parker's been reasonably inactive the last, let's say, year. I mean, I think 2019 he only fought, once that whole year, and that was against Leopold. Putting that in context, I think 2018 he had 3 fights. I think 2017 he had something like 2 or 3 fights that year. So years prior to that he was active, he was consistent. It was fight after fight, it was sometimes 4 fights a year, maybe even more. So 2019 was the first year where he was really not consistent, and obviously, as I said, he fought Alex Leopold, who he was never that good to begin with, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago. Whereas when Parker fought him, he really was. He gave a bit of a resistance, to be fair, but he was still nowhere near Parker's level. And we were hearing talk, we were supposed to get basically Chisora versus Parker. We didn't get that fight, which would have been a good fight. Now he's fighting guys like this Winters guy, and I don't necessarily think it's the fact that Eddie Hearn has ruined Joseph Parker's career. No, I think that Parker he was ill from the spider bite. I love the fact that someone called Parker gets a spider bite and pulls out of a fight. He was ill from that. He wouldn't turn down a fight with Derek Chisora, because although Chisora's, as me and Adi were talking about, he's reinvented himself to the point where we don't remember those losses. He's still seen better days. He's still very beatable. I think Parker would have beaten him, and it would have been, a very, very good payday. Would have been some good exposure as well. So Parker wouldn't have pulled out of that fight unless he absolutely had to. So I don't think that necessarily, he was ducking Chisora or anything like that. But it does kind of make you wonder, like I've said it before, I'll say it again, what is the plan? Where is he going to go? Because everyone who he was talked about fighting, they seem to be tied up with different fights. The plan was for him to fight Derek Chisora, right? That's gone, and we're hearing talk about him fighting Usyk now. Now that fight, Usyk versus Chisora, seems like it's getting pushed back. I've heard kind of say from Eddie Hearn say that it's being, maybe looked at a different date, so it could be we're getting that fight in April. As I said, it was a worry when you had Eddie Hearn saying, it's definitely going to be, this date, and then you hear people inside Team Usyk saying, oh no, it's not. That to me said it all, that maybe this fight was going to get delayed. So we see Usyk and Chisora. Don't know who Usyk will fight next. He may more than likely fight Anthony Joshua next for, his mandatory shot at the WBO title. Where does that leave Parker? Will he rematch Dillian Whyte? Looks for all the money like Dillian Whyte's going to fight Povetkin next. Who will he fight after that? Will he just sit it out and just decide, I have my mandatory against the winner of Wilder Fury next year coming anyway? Maybe I'll just wait for that. Will he go and take a rematch with Joseph Parker? To me, Dillian Whyte rematch will be fun, because it was a good fight the first time, and I think Dillian Whyte maybe will have declined a bit since that fight, because let's not forget here, he's had some tough fights since that Parker fight. Joseph Parker's fought 2 knockover jobs. He's not really done anything since he's lost to Dillian Whyte. So Dillian Whyte, he had a tough fight against Marius Wack, and it was a tough fight. He was in there against Oscar Rivas. That was harder than expected. He's in against Chisora. That was a hard fight. So Dillian Whyte's been having some hard fights. So he's probably not as fresh as he was when they fought. Will be 2 years now this summer. Whereas Joseph Parker, he's fought nobody. He's just as fresh as he was back then. And Joseph Parker's still quite young, in terms of heavyweight, he's still in his 20s. So would Dillian Whyte take that risk and rematch Joseph Parker? I don't know. Because if you've got a mandatory shot for the WBC title you've wanted, would you really risk it against a live opponent like that? I doubt it, but I suppose if the right money is there, people have their price. So that could be a route Parker goes down. It's hard to know. I mean, as I said, he's in a 3-fight deal, and you would hope that the third fight will culminate in a big fight. But it's looking for all the world now. Like, that's not going to happen. It just doesn't look like. It's hard to tell where he's going to go. So really, really strange. Would he be better off? Because we know he's worked with Bob Arum in the past. Would he have been better off going to ESPN and Top Rank? Because you got guys over there like Brian Jennings. You got, who else? You have Tyson Fury. I suppose it's not really a who's who of the heavyweight division, to be fair. But what's he getting over at Matchroom with DAZN? Just saying here, I don't think Eddie Hearn has done Joseph Parker's career any harm. I think that Eddie Hearn, he took Joseph Parker on with the best intention. As I said, it wasn't his fault that Parker pulled out of the Chisora fight. And obviously, Chisora versus Usyk in London makes a hell of a lot of sense, because we know Chisora is a big draw in London. He's well known. Usyk is gaining more of a reputation, especially, since the Bellew fight, being calling Anthony Joshua out a lot. So he's gaining a reputation over in the UK. So it seems a logical fight for that to happen. So, yeah, Parker, he's kind of being left out in the cold a bit. But, it's interesting to see where he's going to go from here. I've talked about this before, but it just seems like now, even Marius Vac would have been a better opponent than the guy he's fighting, at the end of February, So, it's an interesting one. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. Subscribe, of course, if you're new. Let me know your comments down below. And as always, I will talk to you after.